Tracy Dyer on the prowl in the chat room, folks. You're not getting anything past her. Thank you so much, Tracy. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, Christian Whistleblower. We're here tonight to talk a little bit about why I can't mute the program before it starts. We're here to talk a little bit about the book of Genesis. I mentioned earlier today in a video that we did regarding the book of Genesis that I would place a document on my community tab relating to a chronology of the book of Genesis, but I figured it'd be easier just to go ahead and do it this way to give you an idea of the chronology of the book of Genesis, and to also give me a chance to let you know that at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, I'll be coming to you live deep in the heart of flyover country, and Jay Campbell will be out in Cali, and from, I believe, Hong Kong, we will have the one, the only Robert Stanley. So that comes tonight on The Last Stand, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Myself, Jay Campbell, and Robert Stanley on The Last Stand. It's going to be fun times, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be enlightening times, and it's going to be good stuff. The book of Genesis, so jumbled, so tumbled, intentionally so, trying to keep us confused, because confused people don't buy in sales, and confused people don't make changes in the rest of the world. And we are here trying to, as Mark says, we are nuts must stay around this place, and that's okay, because I like it that way. So we're going to talk about, and this will be a relatively short broadcast, and a lot of people say, why should we listen to you? And I say, because I'm better at this than you are. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, I've been doing it a lot longer than you've been doing it. I've been doing this 37 years on a full-time basis. You know about the Bible college degree. You know about the 20 years of preacher. You know about the 100,000 hours of study in the Christian scriptures. I'm better at it than you because I've been doing it longer than you, and because I have nothing to prove. I have no doctrines to defend. The problem with you Christians, the problem with you Jews, the problem with you Muslims, the problem with all of you people that say I am a fill in the blank is you come in with something to defend. I'm a Christian, I've got to defend it. I'm a Catholic, I got to defend it. I'm a Muslim, I got to defend it. I'm a Jew, I got to defend it. I'm a spaghetti monster worshiper, I've got to defend the spaghetti monster. I'm better at it than you are because I've been doing it longer than you have, and I have nothing to defend. I'm objective. I'm empirical, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Rob. So let's talk about the book of Genesis. Let's talk about the chronology of the book of Genesis. And just to make it a little bit easier to grasp, I've made a little handy dandy, what are they called? PowerPoint. A handy dandy PowerPoint. And we will go ahead and bring that to you right now, ladies and gentlemen, so I can show you the basics of the chronology of the book of Genesis. And we can get this under our belt and kind of have it down as an understanding, and we can move on from there. Let's go. Where is it? That's it right there. Sorry to show you the back-end mechanizations of this, but oh boy. Where's the start? Oh, this thing is in the way. So you don't see it, but I see it, and it's in my way. So I got to move it out of my way so I can start the slideshow. Everybody ready? You got your drink? You got everything? Let's start it from the beginning. Let's talk about the true chronology of Genesis. And for those of you who aren't really sure what chronology means, that's okay. Chronology means the time order, and what is time, but the order, the sequence of events as they unfolded within the book of Genesis, or the book of beginnings, which is, of course, the first book in the Christian New Testament. And let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Boom. And folks, forget the numbers. In the Bible, it's a shell game. It's just like the New Testament. 26 books, I think, all of them jumbled out of order to keep you confused so you can't understand the narrative. Yet somehow they got Paul's books in perfect order. Imagine that. But the books written by the apostles of the Christ are all jumbled, all out of order, so it's impossible for you to understand the original message and understand the true narrative. Much like that, Genesis is completely jumbled and tumbled like a crystal. Somebody's asking me about crystals, a crystal in a tumbler. So you can't try to follow the Genesis narrative. Well, you can, but you won't be successful. If you try to follow the Genesis narrative according to the chapter and verse number system that's been foisted upon us by the dominant religious paradigm, the Roman Catholics and the Roman Protestants and the Jews, and to some extent, even the Muslims, because it's all the same thing, ladies and gentlemen. The players are even the same. They're just on supposedly different teams. You know what Abrahamic religion is like? It's like the NFL. You've got the Christians, the Muslims, and the Jews. It's just like the Cowboys, the Bears, and the Lions. But anyway, you've got to get outside the chapter, verse, and number system that's provided by the dominant religious paradigm and its fear and guilt control matrix. So here is what happened within the book of Genesis. Here's the beginning. Here's what happened. First of all, is the arrival of the true gods and their creation. That's contained in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the earth. I'm not 100% certain, but I'm relatively certain that that is the arrival of the true gods, male and female. And I've always thought there was more than just one male and one female, but I might have been wrong, because the word means gods and goddesses, male and female. More than one, so it could, more than one, male and female is plural, but there could be more than one of them, and that doesn't matter. I'm rabbit holing, pardon me. But this, in the book of Genesis, the first thing you see is the arrival of the true gods. And in the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the earth. And between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2, unspoken, is a huge gap which contains the destruction of the perfect earth they created in Genesis 1:1. There's videos on this channel. You can find that out. Just look up pre-Adamite world, look up Genesis 1:1, 1:2, just search it in my YouTube channel. I'll try to remember to put it in, or I'll at least put it at the end of the video where those other videos, suggested videos, pop up. So between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2, you had the destruction of the perfect earth. Jeff, how do you know? Because Jeremiah talked about it, because Isaiah talked about it, and it's very plain within the text. So you've got the arrival of the true gods, they create the perfect earth. Then you've got the destruction of the perfect earth between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2. How did it get destroyed? Well, I'd tell you, but you wouldn't believe me, but I'll tell you anyway. Jeremiah said it was at the appearance of the Lord and his fiery wrath blown through his nostrils. That's right. The one you've been worshiping wrecked the whole thing. And then after that Genesis 1:1 and 1:2, there's a retelling of the original creation of humans. Down in Genesis 1:26, 1:27, they say, we have created you male and female in our image. We've crafted you just like us. We've crafted you spiritual beings. We've made you male. We've made you female. All of the trees and the herbs and the plants in this world are yours to eat. Go build a world. That gets us to the end of Genesis 1. Genesis 2 is out of order. We'll come to it in the next slide. Then we have in Genesis 3, the subtle serpent's message. And remember, subtle means prudent. That was in our last video that got chopped into two pieces. The one with all the wind, you'd think it was in a hurricane. And the subtle serpent said, wait a second, remember the God said, eat anything, it's all yours. Well, what about this new guy, this new little g God that says you can't eat anything? He's trying to keep you from the knowledge that the original gods wanted when they said, eat anything, it's yours. We created you like us. So Adam and Eve decided, you know what? We're going to listen to the original gods. And that was the subtle serpent, the good serpent, the helpful serpent, the serpent that is on our side, the serpent that Jesus said, be subtle as a serpent, referring back to that Genesis message. Seek the knowledge of good and evil. Understand, have your eyes opened. Be wise. Realize you are divine. You are sovereign. You are free. That's why Christianity fights so hard. And that's why you Christians hate me so much for saying, you say we're gods. Well, I only say we're gods because Jesus said we're gods. And Jesus said we got the kingdom of God in us. And Jesus said we're divine, we're sovereign, we're free. You're divine, you're sovereign, you're free. That was the subtle serpent's message in Genesis chapter 3. And that rhymed, and I didn't even mean to do it. That's because sometimes I'm even better than I think I am, and it's kind of fun. He said with his tongue planted firmly in his cheek, okay? Just kidding around. Let's have a little good time. Lighten up a little bit, or as Nacho Libre would say, take it easy. So there we are down through the subtle serpent's message. And then Yahweh comes back on the scene. He's not happy because the first humans ate of the tree of knowledge and good and evil, had their eyes open, became enlightened, knew they were divine, knew they were sovereign, knew they were free. And then the Bible God, that little g God, I should have made it a little g, he got livid. He vowed revenge. We saw that earlier today. You serpent, I'm going to get you. You woman, I'm going to get you. You man, I'm going to get you. And then we saw that he created the counterfeit bodies. Now, of course, you can see why Genesis is a wreck, because Genesis 1 is the true creation. Genesis 1 is the destruction of earth. Genesis 1 is the retelling. Genesis 1 is eat anything it's yours. Genesis 1 is build a world. If they were doing it in order, they would have had this part here about him. We would have had him doing the counterfeit bodies, but it's out of order. So we're putting it back in order for you. Then he created the counterfeit bodies, crafted them out of the dust of the earth. And then, as I showed you earlier today, this is when he came and impersonated the subtle serpent, where it says that the Lord was talking to Eve, and when it says the serpent was talking to Eve, the second time, it's the Lord impersonating the subtle serpent, deceiving man into entering the mud hut bodies. Once they got into the mud hut bodies, he put them captive, kept them captive in those bodies. They couldn't get out. And then he put them in a pen. The Garden of Eden was a pen and enclosure, ladies and gentlemen. I should do a podcast about that. Stockholm Syndrome, longing for Eden. Oh, Eden, Eden, the Garden of Eden. It was a trap. It was a pen. He put us there and made us go to work. So that's the basic chronology of the book of Genesis up to the time where we get stuck in these mud hut bodies and become slaves of the little g God. The gods arrive, create the perfect earth. It gets destroyed by Yahweh in between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2. They start retelling the original creation of us humans. Tell us we can eat everything. Tell them we're like they are. Build a world, guys. The subtle serpent reminds us, don't listen to this new little g guy. We eat the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Little g gets really upset. Says, uh-oh. Now that they have knowledge of good and evil, if they get to that tree of life, I'm finished. So he creates counterfeit bodies, leveraging our desire to skip training, and then impersonates the subtle serpent to deceive us to go into those bodies. Once we get in, we can't get out, we're captive. And ever since then, he's had us enslaved in a pen, this pen of this world, this pen of this body. We have been caught in a trap. We can't walk out because we love this system too much, baby. But we can get out if we just decide to get out, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm hoping that as we give you this information, I'm hoping as we give you these facts and these figures and this documentation, that you, ladies and gentlemen, will decide to not love it too much, baby, and get yourself out of this trap. That's the basic chronology of the book of Genesis, so you can understand how things went, and you can take that information and you can go from there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. Jay Campbell is blowing me up. Got some big plans for tonight's program. So we're looking forward to that. I want to invite you again to be with us. Be with us tonight at 10 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Jay Campbell, myself, and Robert Stanley, live from Hong Kong. We're going to be together on The Last Stand. I hope that we'll see you there. Probably no more podcast excellence between now and then, but you never know. So that's a good reason why you should subscribe to this channel. And that's a good reason why you should hit that bell in the upper right and make sure that it has the little ringy things or wingy things on each side. That way, you're supposed to get notified of all of the programs that I put out. Not always, but most of the time. So we do appreciate you. The topic for tonight is Robert Stanley and all kinds of stuff. I couldn't even tell you what it will be. You got to show up because it's going to be very, very powerful. And on the way out, why not go ahead and hit the like button? Number one, it'll make me feel good. But number two, it improves these videos so that they appear organically in people's feeds at a higher rate. So people that aren't searching for unsophistication, people that aren't searching for unindoctrination will stumble across this, and you'll help someone guide their own spirit, master their own ascension, and be their own guru just by hitting the like button. So please help a brother out, help another brother out, and help many sisters out by hitting that like button, or as the cool kids say, smash the like button. Also smash the subscribe button. Don, you did miss it, but the good news is it's all saved and you can replay it. So I'll see you in about 3 hours for The Last Stand. And between now and then, remember, we are the last generation of real humans. Let's get busy.